long time ago, back when the Romans ruled over Catalunia, there used to be a river which brought life and richness to the surrounding city of Barcelona. Birds, reptiles, fish, and mammals roam freely around marshy wetlands as the river collected its last waters on its way to the sea, cleaning and filtering the waters as it went. As time passed, Barcelona grew, fell, rose, and over again, turning into Barcelona, and finally Barcelona. Unfortunately, these changes didn't go unnoticed to the surrounding territory, and soon the ecosystem started being reduced, modified, and ultimately transformed. Farmland, flour mills, bridges, and buildings started damaging its natural balance as it gave way to the emergence of the mighty city of Barcelona. Soon, population expansion and industrialization boosted this growth to unprecedented rates. Modernism and money-savvy investors started viewing the marshes and wetlands as a nuisance to development, a barrier to urbanize and bring progress to the ever-growing city of Barcelona. More and more ecosystem was reduced, from basin to suburb, from ecosystem to park. More and more land was taken for development. As the 20th century progressed, the time of wars, ideas, modernism and environmentalism, the basin was ravished, raped, and pillaged, turning the landscape and ecosystem to a near straight line on its fastest way to the sea. Polluted and named as no other, the river gave its last fight by surprising the city with fast and swift floods, but the massacre was done. The mighty Besos, with its life and diversity, was lost, a shadow of what it once was, a scar in the urban trace of the city that caused its destruction. This unmentioned destruction of the basin didn't come without consequences for the city though. The deep scar that the river had become disrupted both the natural and artificial flows from one side to the other. Migration patterns changed, the river became isolated, and the surrounding neighborhood became transit cul-de-sacs. The whole territory became the back alley of the city. Being the ugly duck of beautiful Barcelona neighborhoods, it was doomed to industrial zones and dormitories, scattered with empty forgotten patches. Famed for being a dangerous zone with a dirty river, its existence was doomed to oblivion, regardless of whatever changes it undertook, and along with it was its residents. I still have the same house today that I did back then, but I don't live in the same neighborhood anymore. It's still called La Mina, but not La Mina of those days. Not the place where everybody left by day and came back at night. Not La Mina of the socially margined, the dangerous place where none came and none stayed. So, what has changed? What made this neighborhood what it is now? It was that lone river whom everybody gave its back to so many years ago. That Besos came back like a hungry endosymbiotic parasite. What started as a simple lagoon soon expanded to take over the city and change the way we looked and lived in it. The first system it took over was the city's water cycle, thirsty for water and nutrients to sustain its ecosystem. What once was a simple action of opening a faucet without knowing where the water came from or where it ended, changed completely. Now it was in our faces, in our backyards, in our life. What used to be hard asphalt and concrete was now full of green. A whole infrastructure that bypassed the aquifer building pipe disposal system into a natural water cycle of cleaning, filtering, recharging, and bringing life to the once almost extinct Besos marsh ecosystem. Ever since it started expanding, the neighborhood changed. With more things to do and new places to work and live, people started staying within the neighborhood. Less cars were needed, the metro brought people instead of taking them away. We were no longer trapped within Mina, but integrated to all surrounding neighborhoods. The Besos was part of our lifestyle. We no longer ignored it, we cherished it. As it turns out, the basin we once destroyed was basically an enormous water treatment facility. It treated the water as it swam and ran through the surface, equivalent to a phytodeprecation process. As phytodeprecation, swamps clean the water by running it slowly through porous grounds, while plants, hemp in the case of Besos, take the suspended nutrients in it. Nutrients as TBOs, phosphates, and nitrogen, among others, are used by plants to thrive and serve as backdrop to a rich ecosystem. The Besos grew using lagoons, streams, underground flows, and septic tanks, all connected to create patches and corridors that meander through the streets using and integrating the existing green areas. All these components combined give a strong base for growth and different species to roam through it. As the hemp marsh ecosystem matures, its ecological capacity increases and it's able to expand its carrying capacity. Given the constant nutrient flow of the city, the ecosystem finds indefinite resources for its expansion. At first it seemed as if we were losing the battle against Besos, humans in conflict as always. But we soon realized this growth would be beneficial to us. As soon as a solid deposition tank reached our building, our waste started flowing through streams, being cleaned along the way until it reached beautiful and lush lagoons. The lagoons contained the flow for longer, letting it seep into the water table and back to our homes. With the flow being controlled by the lagoons, they stopped streams and the river from overflowing when the water ran high. It didn't impair our lifestyles either. We were still able to move around freely thanks to the tunnels it dug as it ran across main streets. If the streams and lagoons were a surprise, we were dumbfounded when it started growing strange fibers on the empty spaces around the neighborhood. At first, we had no idea what it was, but soon after, we saw it was hemp fiber. Hemp fiber that densified, letting more or less light in, grew higher to allow more space inside, sloped lower to let us walk and sit on it, opened more to let us walk freely through it, and fragmented more to allow us to use it in different ways. They changed through time as well, changed the parameters to fit in different uses, evolving and enriching the neighborhood. Dumbstruck and awed, we wondered, how does this happen? Why did it take the path it took? What was making the buildings evolve? By the time people started using the buildings, we realized that at the time of the first swamp, we got a free app that tracked our movements and let us place program which we desired around our routes. Within it, it was possible to track the expansion of the stream as well, along with statistics of the ecological and carrying capacity of the whole ecosystem. It was Besos again. It was measuring the water and diversity quality of the ecosystem, and using the data received by the sensors that populated the surface to decide when it was possible to expand. The more the ecological capacity and the richer the diversity of the ecosystem, the more it could grow, the more it needed to expand. DBO, dissolved oxygen, pH, flow rate, phosphates, nitrogen, and toxin sensors monitor the water quality. Infrared camera, motion sensors, sound, and image recognition monitor the ecosystem diversity. All the data was summed up and displayed by light on top of it, indicating the state of health. A beautiful landscape of green, yellow, or red lights that showed us what happened when you take care of the ecosystem. Yet, as we got used to what seemed a harmless presence by the river, it started growing. A new hump of gravel was reaching towards Mina, Catalunia, and Sant Juan. 3 years later, it was already inside the neighborhoods. People started noticing that it reached towards their houses as it came closer to them, tapping into their septic tanks. We could see the data in our apps, but couldn't figure out how the increase of ecological capacity of the river before it expanded had to do with interactive placing of uses in it. We did realize, though, that it was reaching towards the locations where more data was gathered. At the same time, it received the data we placed on the app to guide its growth through and into the city. It overlaid topography to know the route to take, the water usage of the buildings to know how much water and nutrients were available, the density of use data to choose its destination, and the different desires of people to grow and change the building shape. This, orchestrated by its own health stats, guided the rhythm of its growth. It took between 2 and 4 years to reach enough maturity to expand, and another 3 years till the hemp fiber started growing. Once they grew, it took around 6 months for the first volumes to be created, which then were evolving almost daily. We knew we had to do something with it, as if the Besos knew our wishes and somehow responded to them. Then, the first buildings appeared. They grew out of the hemp in the channels around the time where the hemp had populated the stream but not yet reached its full height. And it grew. It grew and it changed. Density, height, slope, and fragments of the building changed inexorably. Change and change again, adapting to our uses. Pitch black for projecting movies, big and vaulted for playing sports in, small and fragmented to host markets in, on and on and on. An endless repertoire of amorphous shape that fitted to our lifestyles and our desires. As more and more buildings appeared, we became aware of how the system worked. If the Besos was clean and healthy, which was pointed out by the light on top of the sensors, streams grew, lagoons flourished, and happier people were. All we had to do was take care of what we threw down the drain, and the river grew faster. Take care of how much water we used, and the river would branch and reach further for its quest for water. Healthier river, more streams, more diversity, more active neighborhoods, healthier neighborhoods. A man once told me that there is a utopic scenario of people dwelling with nature as one, both taking care of each other, as an area where waste is recycled into nature and given back as resources, a place where animals and plants are as diverse as people's cultures and traditions, a place shared by all and dominated by none, a city as rich in its tissue as in its ecosystem. A utopia that is a utopia no more, for it is Besos.